back to the Unconventional Marketing Summit 2019. I'm here today with Stephanie Ward, who is a business and marketing mentor for entrepreneurs and small business owners that want to create meaningful and prosperous businesses. Stephanie is known for helping business owners get clear about their business and then generating marketing ideas that are a perfect fit for them. Her passion is to help her clients make a living doing the work that they love. She does this by combining her business and marketing background, her coaching skills, as well as her personal experience. Her formal education consists of a master's degree in communications and a BBA degree in business management. Stephanie's originally from Oklahoma and has lived in the Netherlands since 1999. She started Firefly Coaching in 2002 and serves global entrepreneurs all over the world. So today we've got Stephanie here to talk all about relationship marketing. Stephanie, what does this term of relationship marketing mean to you?
Well, it's really the core of every business that exists. It just means simply that marketing and having a business is about building relationships, and relationships are not formed immediately. They take time, and you have to build trust over time. So people get so turned off by the word marketing, but you can actually just replace that word and use the word connecting instead, and you'll be able to achieve the same results, because it's only about connecting with people, having conversations, and building relationships. That's really what it's about. So nothing scammy, nothing that's impersonal, nothing that's robotic, but real people connecting. That's what it means for me.
And I mean, I think that's great, right? It's not the icky hand out your business card and call it a day at a networking event, right? What you're referring to.
Absolutely. And just to add on to that business card, I actually never even give my business card to people unless they ask for it. Even when I've asked someone, I said, can I have your business card? I don't automatically pull mine out. Unless they say, can I have yours? Then I don't give it to them. So it's really, this ties into another principle about relationship marketing, which is permission-based marketing, which Seth Godin started thousands of years ago, to get permission along the way, including whether or not someone wants your business card or not.
True, and I love that. So if that's one of the most important things that we do, how do we go about building relationships? Because it's kind of, the older we get, the less friends we have. Building relationships and maintaining them is hard. So how do we approach that?
There's so many ways, especially with all the online opportunities. So you can do both online and offline. Those are two places to start. So in person, wherever you are locally, look up on meetup.com, look for industry events, anything related to the work you're doing. Don't go places where all your other colleagues are. So if you're a nutrition coach, don't go to all the nutrition coach meetings. Find a place where your ideal clients hang out and join those places and just start meeting people. And then online, the same thing. LinkedIn, which is an amazing platform that many people overlook for finding, searching for, and connecting with people and starting to build relationships. So it's so much easier than you think. I think people, they're thinking about reaching thousands or millions, and you really only have to reach a handful of people and start building those relationships. So start where you are, start with people you know, and then see who those people know and start there.
Yeah, great. And I think the important point you mentioned here is don't go where your colleagues are, because I think that's a space we often find ourselves in, right? So as a web designer, you talk to other web designers. As a coach, you talk to other coaches.
Right.
Do you make some sort of critical selection before deciding to go to certain events?
I do. I mean, it's important, again, that you're at least, I would say 80% of the people there are your potential clients. For example, all of my clients are small business owners and entrepreneurs. So if I go to a networking event that's mainly corporate people, that's not a good fit for me.
Yeah.
So that's
sense.
Right. One criteria. And the other thing about attending networking events, you can't just go once or twice and be like, well, it didn't work. That's it's not a good strategy. Yeah. Because again, it's about relationships and building relationships, which takes time. So give it a few times to see if there's a fit. And if it's not, of course, move on. I mean, networking in person does require a great deal of energy and time and sometimes money as an investment. So you want to be selective and don't try to be everywhere. Pick a couple and go to those consistently.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for pretty much everything we do nowadays.
Well, the consistency word, I mean, that's the key. It's not really sexy. It's not fun. It's not like, woohoo, consistency, but it absolutely does work. And I know you just did a video about that and how it relates to SEO. So it touches every corner of every aspect of the business.
True. So how, we spend a lot of time online, most of us. So how does social media fit into this whole building relationship part of our business?
That's a great question. I feel very passionately about this. I'm on social media. I love social media,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the place where you're going to sell. It's
Mm-hmm.
only, and for me, I look at it as a support for finding people and connecting with people and sharing information, valuable information with people that they could use and implement and find value in your work. So it's not that social media, if you're just on social media all day long, you can build a business. You can't, and
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't. It's not how it works. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people fall into this trap, and it's frustrating and it's sad. So
Mm-hmm.
if you just think of social media as a support system for your connections, that you can support people, you can like their things, you can share their things, you can show them that you're
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to them, that helps build relationships in a way. But you're still going to want to have an actual conversation either in
Yeah.
person or on Skype.
Yeah. To me, that makes total sense, right? Because social media is the big time suck for most of us anyway.
Right.
Um, so yeah, what this sort of sparks for me is that I think it's Tim Ferriss that has this idea that we need 1,000 true fans to run a business, and that's all. Would you reckon maybe even less than that of well-developed in-person relationships can build a business?
I think Tim Ferriss shared, I think Kevin Kelly is the originator of that idea. I'm not sure. Anyway, we can Google it and share a link. The idea is, again, don't get blinded by this idea of having thousands or millions. 1,000 people, even though that seems like a large number. I mean, most of us have at least 300 people in our surroundings and our connections anyway. So yes, I absolutely do agree with that. You can build a business based on 1,000 true fans, and those are people that are just crazy about what you're doing and love it. But you don't have to have 1,000, right? So
Yeah.
it takes time, and it also depends on your business model, whether you need 40, 50, 60, 100,
Yeah.
423 clients a year. It depends on what you're doing. But absolutely, it's a good anchoring point that you don't get so consumed by trying to, only look at your numbers. Just think about, I say this, if you want to try to measure your marketing, don't look at how many likes you have on Facebook. Don't look at how many people follow you on Instagram. Measure how many conversations you're having every day or every week. So
Yeah.
let those social media interactions and connections bring you to the point of a conversation, because that's where the rubber meets the road. So look at how many conversations you're having and focus on that, and you'll save yourself a lot of time and heartache.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for all of us trying to plan the perfect Instagram feed.
Yes, I mean, it's okay, it's fun and it's nice, but the truth is, people scrolling by, that's doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean a
true.
thing. And if you could be interested in, if you could take 1 hour and spend it on social media, or take 1 hour and be interested in other people and help two people and connect two people to each other, you have done by far much more effective spend of your time than to just scroll on Instagram.
Yeah, it's not fun actually hearing this. But there
Is it
is actually very confronting. But there is actually another thing that I wanted to talk to you about today. I know you're a really big fan of strategic partnerships and strategic alliances.
Yes.
And I'd love to talk a little bit about what these are and how we can use them.
Great question. Right. So, what we were talking about, building relationships, that's one-on-one, that's over time. So that's a direct kind of outreach where you connect with people. In addition to that, there's referrals, which means that, you tell your friend, Robert, hey, Robert, call Stephanie. She might be able to help you. That's a referral. The same concept is for strategic alliance partnerships, where, for example, you and I make a partnership and you tell your whole community about me by putting me in your newsletter or having me on your blog. Let me do a guest blog post or being on your podcast. So that's one to many, and that's a strategic alliance partnership. So working with another business owner who serves the same type of client you do, but with a different service. Very simple. And it's so smart, and it's so much easier, because when you work with people that you know and trust, the people that are in that community trust you. So when you introduce someone, they're much more likely to give it a listen or take a look or connect with that person.
Yeah. So how will we go about finding, for example, I find someone or there's someone, how do we go and approach this whole topic of strategic alliance? Do we need contracts, agreements, any of that stuff?
Well, I would start first with just conversation. So just like any relationship, whether it's a client or a referrer, a potential partner, it's still a conversation. So once you have a few conversations and you feel like you know the person, they know you, then you could just propose the idea. Just say, listen, I'm thinking we might be a fit for a partnership. Would you like to set a time to talk about it? And they will either say yes or no. And then you have that conversation. And in that conversation, you can be very specific about what that would look like, because if you're vague, it won't work. If you're like, hey, Sandra, it's so cool. Yeah, I love what you're doing. I'll send you clients. You send me clients. Super. Bye. Nothing will happen.
Yeah.
You really have to outline how you can help each other. And if only one person can help the other, what I call a one-way partnership, that's fine, because you will end up rewarding the person that's helping you based on what they prefer. That might be money, it might be gifts, it could be wine, it could be chocolate. Those are the kind of things you talk with potential partners about. What is it? How can I thank you if it is a one-way type of relationship? But being specific about how they are going to promote you is very important. And being specific about how you want to thank them is important. So to your question about a contract, I mean, these are people that you trust, that you know. So if you want to, just put it in an email, but I don't think you would do one of these with someone you didn't trust. That's the whole point. So you shouldn't need a legal contract. An email should do it.
Yeah. And then do you recommend thinking before going into the conversation about how can we promote each other, or how can I promote you? Do you sort of, are there standard things we should think about before entering this whole conversation?
Sure. Yeah. I've got a blog post. Maybe you can include that with the link. I've got a download in there, no opt-in download. That's got a list of all the things to look at. For sure, it's good to have some ideas. Like I mentioned, a guest blog post, or being a podcast guest, even postcards. Old-fashioned postcards can work if one of the persons has a actual physical location. But it's also good to just brainstorm. Maybe there are things that you haven't thought about that the other person would bring up. Like they would say, well, I'm going to do this conference. Maybe you can be a speaker there, or who knows what you can come up with when you're being creative. But it's definitely good, especially if you're the one proposing it, that you do bring some ideas to the table so that the person can say yes or no. It makes it much easier to facilitate if you've already got something thought out. So you'll know whether this potential partner, for example, even has a podcast. If they don't, that's not an option, clearly. Same thing with a blog. Do they have a physical location? You would probably know that as well. So you can tailor your offer and your proposal to that person based on what you know about them.
Yeah, makes sense. So is there a number of partners that we need for the average person, or is that depending on everything else?
That's a great question. I think it does depend. So if you partner with someone who has a community of thousands, maybe you only need that one person. If each of your partners has a few hundred, then that makes sense as well. I think it's always good to spread your visibility around. So it's, not that you need to choose for, more partners with fewer numbers. Don't choose like that. Choose, go for someone who has a good match and has a community that's big enough.
Yeah.
But these are people that you probably already know. Everyone's always like, where do I find these people? I'm like, if you sit down and think about it, you already know them. If you just, who do you know that their business, they know your business? And every time I ask people this, if they really think about it, they're like, oh yeah, what about so-and-so? I never thought about it. So look within your own network first.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for most things as well.
True. Yeah.
So I think this is a question that I'm going to ask in most of the interviews, but I would love to hear if there is one specific marketing tactic or technique that you absolutely hate.
Oh, yes, there is. And this ties back to what we were talking about with permission marketing and being, having a solid intention of just connecting and listening and not trying to sell. When I meet with people, my intention is just to connect and find out what's going on with them. I have nothing in my head about I'm going to sell you something. So what I really don't like is when someone approaches me, and they're like, for example, on LinkedIn, and as soon as I accept, they're starting to pitch me. I will unconnect if people do that. Another thing is very subtle, but I find it annoying, is if someone sends you a message and says, so this is what I am doing, and here's my number. I'm available next week. Looking forward to talk to you. And I'm like, well, I never said I wanted to talk to you. So assuming that someone is wants to be in your group or wants to have a conversation, to me is like insane. So, it's just, I don't like pushy. I don't like assumptions. I don't like tricks. Marketing, I love marketing, but marketing doesn't have to be creepy or gross or salesy. It's just about connecting. And I think that's the biggest message I have, is that just forget all those weird things that people are telling you to do and just be a human and talk to another human with no expectations, and things will go well.
Perfect. And related to the one thing question, if there is one, do you have a favorite book recommendation all about what we talked about or about entrepreneurship in general?
For entrepreneurship in general, it's an oldie but a goodie. It's The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And it's just so good because it helps people, especially solopreneurs like us, who really want to do work they're passionate about, understand what we're really talking about here, because there's a lot more involved with just doing your work. So that's a super good foundational book. And then as far as marketing goes, Seth Godin's new book, This is Marketing, is absolutely phenomenal. And every person who calls themselves a business owner or entrepreneur needs to read it.
Okay, great advice. I have to admit, the first one's on my list. The second one, I started listening to it, but I think he's narrating it himself and it just cannot keep me engaged for very long. But I'll give it another shot. I might pick up a physical copy to make things easier.
I think that might be a good idea. I will say Seth Godin is less prescriptive. So he's not going to tell you exactly what to do. He's going to give you more of a strategy and a frame of mind. And that might be why it's difficult to listen to, because you actually need some time to let the message sink in. So I would recommend trying that.
I'll try the physical copy.
Okay.
Is there anything you feel that you really want to add or stress before we finish?
I'll go back to be consistent. That's a huge one. And then a message that I say and share all the time, because I find a lot of people are holding back, is stop waiting. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, for the amount of education. Just, it's time. You know enough. Take action now. Action creates momentum. Move forward. Life is short. Really, nothing bad will happen. So it's like, in that thing that you've been wanting to do, starting a blog, starting a podcast, reaching out, speaking, whatever it is for you, do it. Just do it. Just begin. And I know it sounds so easy, but I see so many people getting blocked and stopped, and it's a shame, because we're waiting for you. So that's my message. Go ahead.
All right. Perfect. So thank you so much for sharing that wisdom. I know that you not only send great newsletters, but you also have a really good opt-in. If you want to share a little bit about what people get if they sign up to your newsletter.
Yes. So I have a free report called 7 Steps to Attract More Clients in Less Time. And it's a really thorough guide, which step by step with 7 steps, obviously, on how you can get focused, get clear, take action, connect with clients. And then the last step is measure, which is another non-sexy thing. But if you don't know what works, you don't know what to do, keep doing. And measuring can be quite fun. So it's a really great read with lots of tips. It's got links to many of my blog posts. So definitely check it out.
Okay, perfect. Stephanie, thank you so much for today. And everyone that's watching this, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, if you want to keep access to this video, you can either just download it on its own, or you can grab the all access pass and just come back to the good stuff again and again. Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing.